Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Speaking of Zane, our 280th week. Wow, 280th, coming up on 300 times that we've done this, usually on a Sunday evening, because that's when it all started. We've done some on Monday evenings when there was like a holiday, or when I was out of town. We've done some other days, but usually Sunday evening. But good to have you all in here. May 12th. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We had a nice Mother's Day here. Jackson and his family, Caitlin and Carson, came over, and Hannah and Everett came over, and we had dinner. And it was nice to see them all. Never be the same, I don't reckon, without two of the kids that called Lori mom. But that's the unfortunate situation. But anyway, hopefully Lori's had a good Mother's Day. And I know it'll never be like previous Mother's Days. How could it be? But anyway, and my mother, this is the anniversary of my mother's passing. She passed last year ago on Friday, which was the 10th. She passed last year right before Mother's Day, and she's been gone for a year. There's my beautiful mother. Oh, shoot, I can't. There we go. There's my mom, Bonnie. There, that's a better. Bonnie Sue. Met my dad when she was 16 or so. Eloped with him when they were 17, and he was just out of basic training. It's a crazy story. And then a year later, along I come. They're 18-year-olds with a baby. Oh, it's crazy, but what a good mother she was, for sure. I know my dad misses her terribly. Well, let's see who we've got in here this evening. Lori is in here. Steve Shirley's in here. Hello, Steve. Pass on happy Mother's Day to Kathy, and Ken, do the same to Janet. Happy Mother's Day there. Colin Krim is in here tonight. My dad is in here. Hey, Dad, I know it was a tough day on Friday with the year, any anniversary. Anniversaries are always tough. Anniversaries, holidays, birthdays. And it was the 1-year anniversary of my dad's wife, Bonnie, passing. And my sister is an angel. And she took off of work, and they went out and did a little state park exploring. So hopefully that was a good outing. Daryl's in here. Hey, Daryl. Daryl made it home. Daryl went on a little road trip. Daryl, you have to put in the chat, but I think you went to Wisconsin. And Daryl went for the funeral of someone that he served with in the Air Force at, Daryl, 3 or 4 different bases. And Daryl drove up there and drove back, and he is with us here on Speaking of Zane. Daryl messaged me earlier today and said he didn't think he'd make it back in time, but Daryl, good to have you in there. And keep your eyes open for something that will arrive at your place later this week. Carl and Peggy are in there. Let's see. You are. I know. I can't get these hat of the week. The Daryl and Ken are pretty good at guessing the hat of the week, but we'll expose that here shortly. Jimbo Miller's in there. Hey, Jimbo. I know Jim has lost his wife Deb several years ago, and I know Mother's Day is not the same there at his place either. All right. Well, let's see. I know we'll have some others join along the way, and I'm going to try to wrap it up in pretty short order tonight because I got to get to bed. Actually, I'm heading to Japan tomorrow, and you guys probably know my daughter Charlotte and I have been doing these daddy-daughter trips. She's a traveler, and she loves to travel. Anyway. What was it, Lori? It was before COVID. Pretty much after she got out of college, we started doing this annual trip together, and we always find some really cool places to go. And we usually do a week or so. Last year we did 2 weeks. I can't do 2 weeks this year, but we're going to do 7 days. But anyway, Japan had never even crossed our minds as a destination for our trip, but she's on a work trip to Tokyo, and she works for United Airlines, and she's got some kind of conference or something that she's at for a couple of days. And she says, well, how about, since I'm already over here, let's build our annual trip around that. So that's exactly what we're doing. So heading over there tomorrow. Now, the flight I was originally on was leaving Atlanta at 5:30 in the morning, and I was ready for it. I was going to head to the airport about 2:30. Takes an hour to get to the airport from here. But anyway, we've moved some things around, availability of seats and different things. So we moved some things around. So my flight doesn't leave Atlanta now until 10 a.m. Still chaotic on Monday mornings, but I'll get to the airport by 7:30 or 8 and have plenty of time. I'm not checking any bags, and I've got TSA pre-check, so should be okay. But yeah, so originally I was going to have to head to the airport about 2:30 in the morning. And so now I don't have to do that. So now I'm going from Atlanta to Chicago to Tokyo. And Charlotte is already there. I tracked her flight. She had a 13-hour flight from Chicago, and she made it into Tokyo. Tokyo has 2 major airports, Narita and Haneda. We're going into Haneda, which is closer to the city, closer to where we're staying. So anyway, I'm excited about that, but I don't have to leave the house tomorrow until about 6:30. So, but I still want to get a little bit of sleep time in. I'll have plenty of time to sleep on the plane. It's 13 hours from Chicago, so I'll have plenty of time for a little nap. But and I've done all my homework. I've crammed all my homework. This is a trip that it wasn't like weeks or months in the making, and I didn't do all this preparation like I normally do. As soon as I got home from New Orleans, which, by the way, I had a great week in New Orleans. You guys saw me posting some things, more about that in a minute. But anyway, I got home from New Orleans, and I started. Hey, Tedro, good to have you in there, buddy. I'm just rambling right now. We'll get to some meat here in a minute. But yeah, I got home from New Orleans, and I started my list, things I got to do, things I got to get ready to do, things I need to wrap up here, things I need to prep for. And I had to do some research, and I learned so much about arriving in Japan over the last couple of days. And there's things you have to know. And I am ready. Everything on my list is checked off. I know the exchange rate. I know everything. Well, we'll see when I get there, but thankfully I've got a smart young lady with me. But yeah, so I'll get there tomorrow, um, and we'll come back home on. We're in Tokyo until Saturday, and then Saturday, what is it called? You can look it up. I'm not pronouncing it right, but we're taking the bullet train. That son of a gun goes about 200 miles an hour, and it's about a 2 hour um, train ride to Osaka. So we're Saturday morning. We'll head to Osaka, go past Mount Fuji on the way, and we'll spend I guess Saturday night, Sunday night in Osaka, and then on Monday we'll take the bullet train back to Tokyo, get to the airport, and then we fly back home on Monday the 20th. But anyway, it should be fun. I'm excited. You always get a little nervous because we're a little on the edge, a little out of our comfort zone. Morocco, Havana, um, the Azores. Where it's not either metropolitan or it's not. There's always this element of uncertainty. Marrakesh, Morocco. But at least with all of those, the language is all rooted in Latin. Japanese is not. So thank goodness for Google Translate. There's a couple of translate apps. And thank goodness that in the Japanese schools, they teach English. So we should be okay. And the Japanese are supposed to be the absolute friendliest, like the polar opposite of the French. So we'll find out when we get there, or when I get there anyway. But that'll be good. And then when I get back there, as soon as I get back, I got a 1 day turnaround, and I'm heading to St. Louis, doing some Memorial Day activities for work and some other things there, and then back home for 4 or 5 days, and then off to California for 2 or 3 days, back home for the weekend, and then to Las Vegas for a week, and then back home after that. And I've got a gap until we go to London in late July. So, all right. Well, let's see. Let me look in the chat here and see if I'm missing anybody. Yeah, okay. I got Tedro in there. Ted from New Bern, North Kakalaki. Good to have you in there, buddy. Old Air Force pal. Toby's in there. My cousin. Hey, Toby. My Aunt Mary's in there. Happy Mother's Day, Aunt Mary. My dad says they're the most friendly people. Yeah, my dad spent some time there because the USS Midway was based in Iwakuni. So my dad spent some time there, and yeah, that's everything I hear about that, Dad, is that they are they're very punctual, they're very prompt, they're very courteous. The streets are absolutely clean. The other thing I learned is that everything is absolutely clean, but there's no trash cans anywhere. You basically take your trash back to wherever yourself. Anyway, so I said I've done a lot of research over the last couple of days. Thank goodness for YouTube. Remember the old Frommer's guides? Remember, guys, when we were at Mildenhall and you'd go to Europe, and I would spend time on Alert studying the Frommer's guide, and it was only as current as the printing. Now you have real time with the internet and everything, but we did all our planning that way. Lori and I got along just fine using that, but it's so nice to have YouTube and all everything that we have available to us to make it easier and more enjoyable. But all right, let's see. Well, it's good Mother's Day. What about the Braves? I'm listening to the Braves. We still don't have Braves on Comcast, Bally Sports anymore. So who knows? I may never see another Braves game. Actually, once I get home for a while, I'll figure out that whole thing. But anyway, I'm just happy to listen to it on the radio. I've got a 1963 Zenith transoceanic radio that I listen to it on, and it comes in perfect. And it's on right now. The Braves are up, but and it looks like they're about to sweep the Mets. But they are a game behind the Phillies right now. Dropped into second place in the National League East. That's not good, but that road trip really didn't help us out. Okay, well, let's see. Hat of the week, hat of the week, hat of the week. A hat of the week always has something to do with what the heck is going on around here. And I just spent a week in New Orleans. I'll tell you what, I like New Orleans. I like the food. I like the culture. I was right down on the river. Um, just a mile. I did my afternoon walk every day. It's a mile from the riverfront Hilton to Jackson Square, um, where Cafe Du Monde is. And so I would walk every day a mile there in the afternoon, and then a mile back, and sometimes a little bit longer. But got my walks in. It was humid as all get out. It's still not that hot there in the 80s, but it was still humid. But I always enjoy it. I did do the customary walk down Bourbon Street, still as nasty and disgusting as ever. But you get on the periphery of that, and you get some, your nice places and stuff. But anyway, it was a good trip. I had a great visit there. The whole reason I was there is our company is on this list called Great Place to Work, and the Great Place to Work list is like a list of 100 companies that have all satisfied certain criteria to be declared a great place to work. Anyway, we're on the list, and we're number 19 on the list, and we're on that list for 13 straight years now. But part of the agenda for the conference this year was talking about these employee resource groups, and you guys have heard me talk over and over again about how I lead our veterans group at work. Hundreds of veterans at work they call employee resource groups. Anyway, we had some workshops on that, and our HR leader for our company, who happens to be a retired lieutenant general, Bob Farrell, who I've become acquainted with over the years. Here, staff sergeant, he's a 3-star general, but he's the one that selected me to do the thing I'm doing. And actually, he was on a panel with the human resource officer at Dow, and they were on a panel where they had to talk about their veterans, hiring veterans, and all stuff like that. Well, I had to prep him for that, so he knew what he was talking about, and everything that he was going to say was accurate. I prepped him and gave him the brief on all of that stuff. And then that wasn't enough, because he called me up during the session and said, well, I'm going to have to phone a friend. And I had the opportunity to talk about some things at the company. And anyway, I'm always ready for that kind of stuff. But anyway, it went really good. I got a chance to meet several veterans who were also there from other companies for the same reason I was there, which was really nice. But anyway, always good to be back home. Now I'm home for a couple of days. Now I'm gone again, but we'll see. So next Sunday we will be in Osaka, and 8:30 in the evening Eastern for us is like 9:30 in the morning in Japan. So you never know. I might decide to do Speaking of Zane next week, because it'll be like when I'm up having my coffee and all of that. We'll see how things go, but I'll be sure. Actually, that would be Sunday night, would be Monday morning there. So we'll see. Our bullet train. So our flight leaves Tokyo at like 5:30 in the afternoon there. And we got to take the 2-hour train back to Tokyo. Anyway, we'll see. I'll let you guys know in plenty of time. Okay. Oh, they're on ESPN tonight. Thanks, Dad. I'm going to tune it in. I might catch the last inning. Doggone it. I should have been a little more, but I've been so busy. I didn't have time to do that research, but I appreciate you letting me know that, Dad. I will still listen to the radio, even if I'm watching on television. Okay, hat of the week, hat of the week, hat of the week. Hat of the week always has something to do with what the heck is going on around here at the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum. And because of New Orleans, I wore my New Orleans cap, my new souvenir cap. You see the fleur-de-lis? Give you a little close-up version there. You see NOLA. Whoops, let's get the light just right. There you go. Anyway, there you go. You know I'm a hat guy, so that is the hat of the week. Okay, well, let's see what we got here. This week in military history, I got a couple of items here. On May the 5th of 1961, May the 5th of 1961, I should have mentioned this last week, Alan Shepard became the first American in space. And he was aboard what they called Freedom 7. I think I got all that right. I think my research is right. But Alan Shepard, he was the first American May 5th, 1961. Now, fast forward just a few years, on May the 9th, 1989, a young man called Ken Pesic graduated from college and was commissioned as an officer in the United States Air Force and went on to have an illustrious career, later retired as a lieutenant colonel, and now is happily retired in Central Florida and does a little consulting on the side. But Ken, congratulations on that anniversary for sure. Okay, well, let's see. Veteran Cemetery Challenge. I think, Daryl, did you have one or two visits this week? I've lost track, and then I always count my dad and my sister's visits, and they have done such a fantastic job there. If you saw my mom's gravesite, it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's exactly what she would want, I think, for herself, and it's no surprise that my dad and my sister have pulled this together. And I cannot wait to get there. We had planned to go down there this weekend. Gosh, it pained me to tell my sister we weren't coming. But I just would not have had the time to do the things I needed to do before leaving again. I know it's a terrible excuse, but we're definitely going to get back down there. I like to go down. It's a 3-hour drive, 3.5 hours. I'd like to go down when we can stay over and we're not rushed and have to turn right around and come back. So we're looking at another date coming up here. Okay, thank you, Daryl. Let's see. So if I add up what I think we have there, we had 5 visits this week. We're at 1,167 visits. So that's good in my book. I appreciate you guys doing that with us. When I visit there to see Zane, I have this, my response has kind of evolved over the years. I used to describe it as my least favorite place to visit and my favorite place to visit all together. And that's a very difficult thing to reconcile in your mind, but that's how it feels. Now I think I feel more on the favorite. I've shifted a little bit, and I get great comfort out of going there and visiting and spending time. And I might spend an hour there sometimes. Sometimes I'll walk it. It's about a mile and mile and a half circuit. Sometimes I'll go there and I'll do a 5K, get my steps in and clear my head a little bit. It's absolutely quiet. All those heroes are very well mannered and don't cause a ruckus. But yeah, they're doing a lot of work out there at Georgia National in the moment. They're prepping 3 or 4 new locations where they're putting the vaults. Did you know that they excavate the entire area? They place the vaults and then they cover it all back up again. And then as they bury a veteran, they just take up to the vault and then they lower the casket in and then they cover back up. Yeah, it's I never knew that, but it's interesting. They got a lot of that work going on right now, but it's still quiet. It's still very peaceful, as you might imagine, in the sort of the foothills of the Georgia mountains. I've never been there, and you're driving through on I-75. Ever swing in and say hi to Zane? All right. Well, Think a Vet Challenge. Let's see. I think some of you may be throwing some things in the chat here, but let me tell you the thank yous I had this week. I had my my general, General Farrell, um, and he's only recently retired. He's probably retired now. He's been with us maybe 4 years or something like that. But he was a three-star general in the Army. He was the Chief Information Officer of the Army. And now he's an HR director. He's our people leader for 10,000 person company, which is a lot less in numbers that he used to command. But I think he's made the transition pretty well. He's not an authoritarian type of leader. Um, it's an interesting dynamic. But anyway, so and then some of the other veterans that were in New Orleans at this conference, I met Matt, who was in the Army, and Mike, who was in the Marine Corps, and then Jonathan, who was an Air Force tanker pilot. So it was good chatting with all of them. And then Ken's throwing in some thank yous here. We've got 3 firefighters. Love it. And okay, retired Air Force. Very good. That's awesome. Thank you, Ken. And then Steve O's jumping in, not to be outdone by Ken. Had 2 Omaha PD guys. That's awesome. They certainly deserve it. I tell you what, I can't imagine being a police officer. Can you imagine being a police officer? I just can't. You have to always be skeptical. You have to always be, always be on the defense. You have to always be. I don't know. You can't trust. It's like you can't trust anybody. I don't know, and that's why I think a lot of them get a bad rap, because they're hard and cold to us. But we know we're not bad guys. They don't know we're not bad guys. I don't know. It's a tough one. I just can't imagine. I appreciate folks that do that for a living and for a career, but I could never. And handshakes all around from Steve-O. That's great. And then, yeah, I hear you, Daryl. We're about 20 miles, I guess, right, Lori? We're about 20 miles away from Zane. So it's not like it's just around the corner, but it's not a great distance. And but I do feel unfulfilled if I have not visited him in some time. I mean, I know he's not there. It's just his body. But, that's the last place that we saw him. That's the place where they buried him. It's a place to go to revere those that have passed. But anyway, I enjoy my visits more now than I did early on, I think. Let's see. Well, that's good, Steve. I'm glad to hear that. So if I total up the thank yous, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Got an even 10 this week. So 4, 5, 6, and so we're at 2,738 thank you. So 2,738 times over the last several years, somebody has heard from one of us, hey, thank you, or appreciate your service, or hey, knucklehead, what the heck did you do in the Air Force, or something like that. And I don't know, I get more positive response than I do negative. And it's good to have a nice conversation with a fellow vet. But so I appreciate you guys playing along on the Thank a Vet Challenge. All right, well, let's move along to the organizations. Same updates, running to honor. We'll be doing that from London this year. late in July. Let's see. Carry the load. Carry the load. I'm going to miss the Carry the Load. I've been talking about Carry the Load. Atlanta is on the New England route. They start in New England. They make their way down, go back up and over, and then eventually every one of those routes makes their way to Dallas. But they're coming through the Atlanta metro with quite a few stops, 8 or 10 stops in the metro, and that'll be on May the 16th. So I won't be here. That's just 4 days away. I'll be in Japan, but I appreciate what those guys do, and I'll look forward to walking along with them next year if that works out that way. Okay, well, let's see. I did see an unfortunate casualty. You guys may have heard about this one. Let me see if I can pull this young man's picture up here and share it. Just a tragedy. I don't know all the details, but let me share. Yeah, there you go. That's Army First Lieutenant Brandon Moultrie. He's 28 years old. He died on May the 5th. Let me drop that. He died on May the 5th in Fairbanks, Alaska, after being shot outside of a bar the day before. And the way that the article talked about the circumstances is he was a bystander. He wasn't involved in any altercation or anything. He was an innocent bystander that a stray bullet, I guess, killed. Anyway, just terrible tragedy there for sure. Okay, well, let's see. That is all this guy has this week, but sure is good to have you all in here every week to talk about Zane, to talk about military matters, to talk about veterans, to talk about my hat of the week and other crazy stuff. But I'll tell you what, if I didn't do this every week, I would absolutely miss it. I would miss it. And it's therapeutic for me. Ken, yeah, I saw that. If you're talking about the one from the 1st Special Operations Wing, I mentioned it last week. More details have been coming out, but it turns out that he was killed by local police. Yeah, it's turning into quite a controversy there, and I haven't kept up with it over the last couple of days, but just an absolute tragedy. And the guy was an enlisted aviator. I don't know if he was on the Ghost Rider gunship or if he was on the MC-130s, but he was I think he was a special missions aviator like our son Jackson. But just a tragedy there. I'll go back and read the latest on it, but just incredible, sad. I saw a picture of him with a little girl who I think was his daughter, but heartbreaking situation there. Okay, team, we'll see if we have another Speaking of Zane next week. I'm going to have internet access on all that stuff, so I'll let you guys know if we do, and it'll be 8:30 Sunday night here. Will be Monday morning there, and it's all going to depend on when we get back on the bullet train to get to Tokyo. So, but I'll let you guys know ahead of time, and then otherwise we would see you the next weekend, and I can give you the full rundown on what the heck is going on there. I've got a buddy who's a Navy veteran whose wife is from Japan, and he gave me some tips and pointed me to a museum, a military museum that I didn't know about before. So I'm going to try to get that in, and I'll take some pictures and post them on the Facebook group, and we'll look forward to telling you guys all about it on the next Speaking of Zane, whenever that might be. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for everything that you do and coming alongside us and grieving with us and loving on us and listening to us and giving to us. I mean, you guys have all been fantastic, and we can't thank you enough. So God bless you, and we'll see you again next week or the following for Speaking of Zane.